have 31 attendees so far.
Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to Oracle Apex India Community Office Hours 2020 Edition 3. I'm Chaitanya, Product Manager for Oracle Apex. Thank you for joining today evening. And we have two sessions today, two topics today by two speakers, Prashanth Raju and Srihari Ravva from Oracle. Before going to the introducing them, if you are tweeting about this event, if you're tweeting about Apex India Community Office Hours, or if you're tweeting about your blog post, or if you're tweeting anything about the Apex India community, I would encourage you to use the hashtags Oracle, Oracle Apex, Low Code, Mocha, Oracle Apex India, Enoch, Oracle Cloud, and Oracle India. Agenda for today, we do have two topics: exploring the power of faceted search in Oracle Apex by Prashanth Raju from Oracle, and Oracle Apex APIs that everyone should know by Srihari Ravva from Oracle. With that, I would like to request Prashanth to get started with this session. Over to you, Prashanth. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chaitanya. Sharing my screen.
Yeah. Except the speaker, please put your video off. Thank you.
Hope you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Chaitanya. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the third edition of Oracle Apex India Office Hours. So, in this session, we are going to learn Oracle Apex Faceted Search, which is one of the powerful and game-changing feature of Oracle Apex. So, before starting the session, I would like to introduce myself. I'm working as a principal member of technical staff in Oracle, based out of Bangalore office. And I started my Apex journey in the year 2008. And since then, I am involved in development and designing of numerous enterprise web and mobile applications to satisfy business requirements. So that's a few lines about me. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so coming to the agenda of today's session. So first we will understand what is faceted search and what are its uses. And then we will see how does the faceted search work in Apex, how quickly and easily we can create a faceted search page in Apex within a very short span of time. So then we'll jump into the demo where we will see and explore more on this faceted search options. And finally, we'll wind up with summary and Q&A session. Okay, so what is faceted search? So it is a collection of predefined filters that can be applied to your data in order to narrow down your result set so that you can quickly see your data in a desired way. So it is a powerful new way to filter and display your data. So this remarkable feature was introduced in Oracle Apex version 19.2, and there were a good amount of enhancements done to this feature in 20.1 version. In case if you want to make use of this feature, it should be at least in Apex 19.2 version or higher than that. So this faceted search provides an easy to use interface to narrow down the result of a report and quickly locate a specific data. So, okay. And you can see this faceted search more often in the internet, typically on a shop or in a commercial website. So for example, if you're browsing any plane tickets to book any plane tickets, or if you are looking for any room rentals booking, so this is where you can see this faceted search working in action. And this faceted search makes it easier for your user to find the data they want very quickly and easily. So that's about the faceted search. Move on to the next slide. So this is a sample faceted search page which was created in Apex. So you can see it features on the left hand side, it has the faceted search region, and in the right hand corner, you can see the classic report region which shows your data. So user can, the filters which are displayed on this left-hand side are also known as facets, and each facet represents the column in your database table. User can set filters using these facets, And as and when I go through each of the facets, click on the value in each of the facets, the result in my report quickly gets refreshed, and I can see the narrow down data, where I can quickly locate the specific data based on the filters applied on this facets. And you can also see as and when we click on each of the facets on the left hand side, the total row count displayed at the top will refresh automatically along with the facets which are displayed on the left hand corner. And each facet, so the values are the combination of the data which is present in your report. It will show the distinct data in each facet along with the occurrence count. Okay. So this way, so user can quickly filter the data and narrow down the result set, so that they can look out for a desired report very quickly. So let's move on to the next slide. So here we will understand how does faceted search work in Apex. So Apex is smart enough to understand the data set provided, and it creates some of the useful faceted search filter automatically in your application. So in Apex, there are some intelligent code which are built in Apex, which it will look for some of the columns, like you can say a number column or a varchar column, and it will try to avoid other types of columns like a foreign key or a primary key columns in your table. So Apex basically maintains a dictionary cache, which comprises of the information about the table column, also the constraints like primary key column or foreign key column, and the actual data. So all the information is stored in this dictionary cache. Based on this cache, Apex automatically proposes the facets when we create the faceted search page in Apex, and it automatically creates the facet for based on this particular rule. So whenever I go and create a faceted search page in Apex, so it will look out for these rules, and it will automatically create the facet in my page, so that it works like out of box, and it makes the developers life easier. So within a minimal coding, so user can achieve a fully functional faceted search navigation. So some of the other advantages of faceted search are it's SQL driven. All the filters and the computations happen directly in the database, and hence it's very quick. So quickly user can filter down the data, and they can see the required data set in the report. And auto discovery, so facets are automatically created based on the data patterns provided from your table, or in case if you are creating it from any spreadsheet, so it will automatically pick up the facet which has to be created based on some rules which are mentioned in the dictionary cache, and it will create the facets for you. And count computation, so facet results count are dynamic, and those are computed based on the current filter settings as and when user changes the filter. And multiple facets, so there are a variety of facet type available. So most commonly used facet types are checkboxes, radio groups, range facets, and there is also something called search input field, where user can search for the data within the report by typing in a free form text. So we will see and explore more on this during our demo session. Great, so we got to know how exactly the faceted search works in Apex. So now it's the time for demo. So we will basically see, first we will see how we can create the faceted search using create application wizard. For example, I have a sample data with me in a spreadsheet, and I would like to create a brand new application, and there we will see how automatically Apex create a faceted search page for me. Okay. And then we will see how to create a faceted search page using create page wizard. In case you have an application which is already existing, and you want to incorporate this faceted search feature in that application, so you can directly make use of create page wizard to create the faceted search page based on the table or some SQL query. And finally, we will try editing a faceted search attributes and explore more on it. Great, so without wasting much time, let's go to the demo. Okay, so I am currently in the app builder homepage. So first, let's see how Apex creates faceted search page automatically when we create an application. So I will click on this create new app. As I want to create an application from a spreadsheet file, I would click this from a file option. So here I can either drag and drop the file or I can copy paste the spreadsheet data. I will go with the default option of dragging and dropping the file here. So I have some sample data with me. So sample movie data, which contains details about movies. So I'm loading that CSV file here. Great. So let me give a table name, movies data. Let's say movies details. Okay, I will click on load data. So it's processing. Now you can see my movie details table got created with around 2631 rows, which were there in my CSV file. So I will click on create application. Let's give a meaningful name to the application, movie detail faceted search, as we are more interested in faceted search now. Okay, as you notice here, Apex automatically created a certain standard set of pages for me based on the data provided, like home page, which is the landing page of my application, and dashboard page, which represents the data in a graphical format. And I can also see a faceted search with a form page, also an interactive report with form and a calendar page. So Apex is smart enough to create all these pages based on the data set provided by me. And we can also enable some of the useful features for the application, something like activity reporting, access control, configuration options, or about page. So which adds more weight to the application, and also it will create respective pages whenever you click on these options. So I will go with the default and I will create the application. You can notice that the application creation is in progress. Great. So now my application is ready to use. Let me run the application. I will log in with my credentials. Cool. So we are in the landing page of the application. You can see with the minimal clicks and without much of coding, you're able to see a beautiful looking application. And our area of interest here is the faceted search page. So quickly I will go. Okay, so this is the faceted search page which was created by Apex based on the data set provided by me. You can notice that it has the faceted search region on the left hand corner, and on right hand side of it, I can see the data displayed in a classic report. So these filters on the left hand side are also called as facet, as mentioned earlier, and each of these facet represents the. And you can notice here, so Apex has automatically created me certain facets like genre, country, production company, runtime, and budget. So based on the dictionary cache, Apex automatically took these columns and created facets for it so that I can narrow down the result set based on these values. So each of the facet has a distinct value from my result set, and it will also show the count or the occurrence count in my report. And as and when I change the facet values, you can notice that the report in the right corner refreshes instantly, and it provides an easier way for user to narrow down the report. Also, if you notice, as and when I change the filters here, the filters gets added on the top of the report region, and the facet values will be shown along with the total row count. And end user can quickly like modify or remove the facets from this particular header part, or in case if he wants to start over, he can click on clear all. So this will like bring back the report to the initial format with clearing all the facets. So as we notice, like when we walk through different facets, so my report gets filtered out and I can locate my data quickly based on the filters applied. So all these operations, like when I change the facets, the operations like report getting refreshed, the dependent facets getting refreshed, and the occurrences count getting recalculated. So all these operations are done automatically by Apex, and you no need to worry about it. So Apex will do it automatically for you. And if you notice here, I have not provided any complex SQL query behind the scene. I have just added the table name for my CSV file. And you can see that without much of coding, Apex is doing all the low level work for me. So this is the no code part of Apex and the power of a faceted search feature in Apex. So it makes developers' life easier to implement or achieve the faceted search feature in Apex with minimal coding. So okay, so we now saw like how it looks in the UI. So let's go to the page designer and see what all components are involved for this faceted search. Okay, I'm in the page designer now. So if you notice, so this is my faceted search region. The region type is faceted search, and it also includes different facets which were created automatically by Apex. And it also contains a static region. So this is just to display the total row counts along with the active facets on the header of the report. And we also have the classic report for our table, which displays all the columns which are there in my CSV file. So these are like standard Apex components, nothing rocket science in it. So all are like normal components which we can use to configure or change it. So let's do one thing. Let's go back to our page and let's try to. Sorry, I think my system is stuck. Let me. Okay, I think I'm back. Let me quickly go to my application. Chetan, are you still able to see my screen? Just to confirm.
I'm able to see your screen, but to me, your picture looks frozen. That's okay. I can see your pic and I can see your demonstration.
Okay, great. Maybe something got stuck, so maybe I will continue with the demonstration.
Yeah,
Okay.
you might want to just minimize your that particular video.
I'm trying to minimize it, but it's giving some end.
I think you can just continue. Are you there, Prashanth?
Seems we lost him.
Yes, I did rejoin. So can you see my screen now?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so sorry for that. So let's go back to our faceted search page. Okay, and let's try to change something in the filters. So you can see here, we have an input search field, and I will try to enter something here, and I will hit go. So this will do an row level search for me in my results. So if you see, I have typed as India, and I can see all the data which contains India has been filtered out and shown to me. So this is a free form text, and also we can configure this searching option. So let me go to the page designer. Okay, so as you see, this is the input search type, and if I want to restrict any of the column which should not be included in my search, I can simply go to this section and remove those columns which should not be included during the search. So you can provide the column names here, and then you can save it. And so now I remove the production company. If I search for India, so it will look only for the title, genre, and the country, and it will not look for other columns. And in case if you want to search for all the columns, you can leave this blank, and at that point of time, it will do the search for all the columns in your report. So that's about the search facet. Let's go to the other facet. Let's try to change a country here. So you can see country is a very big list. Let me see more, and you can see like it's a very big list, and it shows most of the countries which contains the movie information. So let's try to edit some of the attributes of this country facet. Okay, and here I can see that this is of a type checkbox, and I have some attribute to change here. I will change client side filtering. I will enable this, and maximum displayed entry, it is 5 currently. I will make it as 8, and show selected first. So I will enable this. And there is also something called zero count entries. So by default, it is hidden. I will disable this section. So these are the changes which I did for my facet attributes. So now I will save it. I will run my application. Great. So now if you notice, I changed the minimum display list from 5 to 8. So now I am able to see 8 values by default. And you can configure it to further more values by changing that attribute. And also I enable the client side filtering. So when we do that, we get the search field option within that particular facet, and I can quickly type in, and the result set gets like automatically filtered, and it is narrowed down so that user can quickly select the required filters. So let's say United Kingdom. So like this way, as and when I type, so I am able to narrow down the values within my facet. So this gives a better way for user to add the filters to the report. So other option which we enabled was show selected first. So let's say I click on this show more, and okay, so let's do one thing. Let's remove this. Okay, so here you can see a big list. I will select Russia now. So now the selected one will be automatically displayed at the top of the facet. So whatever you select, so it will be displayed at the top of the facet. This is the like setting which we did in the attribute. If you want to display any selected one at the top, we are enabling that particular component within the facet. And also, if you notice, there might be some zero count entries. For example, I will select the production company as Universal Pictures, and Universal Pictures can be present only in certain countries, not in all countries. So if you notice here, so the ones which has occurrence count as one or more than one, only those are enabled, and rest of them which doesn't have a count, which has zero count entries, are disabled. So by default it would be hidden, but if you still want the user to see all the data in your facet, then you can change that flag to show or should to disable the zero count entries. So that's great. So what I will do, I will clear all and start over. So like this, like we saw how we can change the attributes of a facet to quickly narrow down the result set. So let's move on to other types of facets which were created. I will go down. You can see this runtime and budget. And if you notice that both runtime and budget are number columns in my table. So what happens is Apex for these number columns, Apex automatically creates buckets, and it created a range filter for me. Okay, and this distribution of buckets or the boundaries are done automatically by Apex based on the data set which are provided by us. So this can be, of course, configured, or we can change it to be more meaningful. So let's try it out. Let's go to our page designer and runtime. Here you can see this is of type range, and Apex uses standard LOV component to display the ranges or the boundaries. So let's edit this boundaries to a more meaningful name. We'll say less than 70, and the return value will make it as 70, and here the display value 70 to 100, return value 70 to 100. And you need to make sure that you need to separate out the lower boundary and the upper boundary with the pipe symbol in order for Apex to work on the filtering part. So you should make sure the boundaries are separated by the pipe symbol. So I will make this as greater than 120. So I will click on OK, and I will save and run this page. Okay, let's go to the range facet. So now if you see, I have changed the LOV, the display value, to a more meaningful name, and the boundaries has been changed. So the same has been reflecting in the UI. So like this, like we can configure the LOV to display the desired values apart from the one which are automatically picked by Apex. So great. So we are good with this range facet. What if user wants to give his own range? You don't want to select the range from the list given here. So user want to type in his own range. How that can be achieved using this Faceted Search feature. So let's go to the page designer again, and we have an option called manual entry. I will just enable it, and there is also an option to give the range text. I will leave it as null so that Apex will pick default. Now let's go to the runtime. So now if you notice, so as I enabled the manual entry, Apex automatically created these two fields to me so that I can view the lower and the upper boundaries and do the filtering. So let's say I will give lower boundary as 70 and upper boundary as something like 110, which is not there in my list of values. I click on go. So now if you notice, based on the boundaries given by end user, so Apex automatically does a range search for those boundaries, and it will give me the result quickly. So that's how it's more powerful, and without much of coding, with the declarative option, we can easily achieve this feature. So let me clear this. I think so. I have covered most of the feature in the Faceted Search. So in 20.1, there were like a couple of more enhancements done to this Faceted Search feature. So one of them was this addition of this total row count at the top, and when we select the facet values, each values are getting displayed on the top of the report page, so that user can quickly like remove the facets, or he can clear all. And other option which was introduced in 20.1 was, if I go to the page designer, so for the faceted search region itself, we have some attributes to change, so that we can make some UI changes or look and feel changes in the faceted search page. For example, let's say, so I have the total row count displayed at the top. I want to rename it to something more meaningful, movies data. And there is something called compact code threshold. It's currently 10,000. I will make it as 1,000, and we'll run the page and see how it looks after doing these changes. So these changes are done to the faceted search region itself, not to each of the facet attributes. Okay, so now if you see, so I have renamed the total row counts to movies data, which is more meaningful, and the count which was displaying earlier with some numbers earlier, the full numbers, now it is displaying in a compact numbering format, so based on the threshold provided by me. And the same thing applies for the occurrence count for each facet. If you see here, so this United States of America, it has the occurrence count more than 2,000, and it gave me the display as 2K, which makes it like look better in the UI. So let's change some of the other attributes. Let's say like you don't want the total row count, or you don't want the facets to be displayed on the top, you can always like disable it using this. If you don't want to show the facets, you can make it as no. And if you don't want to show the total row counts, so I can simply make it as no. Now, both of them will be hidden. And there is one more option called batch facet search. So let's see what this does. I will enable this and I will run my page. Great. So now if you see, I have removed the label, and so when I click on facets, as I enable the batch facet flag, so now what happens is, as and when I move through different facet values, my report is not getting refreshed, but rather I see a apply button on each of the facets. So when I click on this apply button, so all the filters get applied to your report in a batch at a single point of time. So with this option, so as and when user clicks on each of the facet values, the report won't gets refreshed, but it will get refreshed at a single point of time in a batch when you click on the apply button within each of the facet. So that is the use of batch facet changes. Great. So we are good with this. So now let's understand how we can create the faceted search page for an existing application. For example, we already have an application and I want to implement a faceted search page in that application. So I will go to the page designer homepage of my application. I will click on create page. We need to go to the report option in order to get the faceted search feature. Here you can see the faceted search. I will click on this. Give a name to the page. Click on next. I'll create a new navigation menu entry for this, and I will call it as faceted search employee details. I'll click on next button. Okay, so here you can see we can provide the data source as local database. Also, there is an option to create a faceted search on REST-enabled SQL services or a web source module. And the source type, you can give table or SQL query. So in this session, we'll go with the table option. I will select the table for which I want to create the faceted search. There will be two views, report and a card view. Based on your requirement, you can choose a required option and proceed further. So if you notice here, so as I selected the table, so Apex automatically recommended me certain facets based on the statistics of the data in your table. So if you see here, the job, salary, department number, it picked automatically, and for these, it is going to create the facets in my faceted search page. And also, if you notice, based on the data type of the column, it creates the facet types. This is of checkbox type, and this is the number column, and this is range type. And department number is a number column, but still it made it as a checkbox facet type. So I will explain you why it has done so when we create the page. So let's proceed further and create a page. Okay, my page got created. So now I should be able to run this page to see the faceted search in action for the employees table. Great. So as you can see, I can see the data in a classic report format on the right hand side. Left hand side shows the facets for job, salary, and the department, which it automatically picked when I selected the table. So one important thing to notice here is if you see the department, which is a number column in employee table, so it automatically picked it as an like checkbox faceted type, because what it did is it is a foreign key in the employee table. So Apex automatically looked for an lookup table or a child table for the department, and it took the department names from that lookup table, created the list of values for it, and it automatically attached those list of values to your classic report column as well as the facet. So the developer he should not worry about like creation of a separate LOB for department and displaying the name. So Apex does automatically for him, and he can just he can just focus on creating the page by giving the data set and by configuring the facets. So this is one like good feature in faceted search, which automatically picks up the foreign key constraints and take the lookup data and provide you the proper display when you create the faceted search page. So yeah, as and when I go through different facets, so it narrow down the result. So one last option I'm going to do here is let's try to create a new facet for a date column. So it didn't pick up automatically, right, when we created a table. So we will try to create a new facet for a date column. We can see this hide date column here for employee table. So I will go to edit page. So under my faceted search region, I will do create facet. And here I will give as hide date. And the type would be range. So we need to select as range, and here I missed E. Okay, fine. And then let's go further down, and we need to map the database column with this facet so that it can do the filtering. And the data type should be the date. And finally, we have to provide the list of values for the range facet. So we can do it using the list of values static value option. I will enter the display and the return values. And for the date column, so we need to make sure that the return value should be in a canonical date format, something like this. Okay, so I will go ahead and provide a display value and a return value. So before 1980, my display value 1, and this would be my return value. As mentioned earlier, the boundaries must be separated with pipe symbol in order to do the proper filtering. So second range is 1980 to 1982. I will give the return values. Let me quickly copy paste this. Great. Okay. I will add the third one. And finally, I will add the last one after 1984. Display value and the return value. Okay. And one important thing to note here is, so for an range facet of type date, so we should not enable this manual entry because Apex currently doesn't support this manual entry option for the range facet, which is of type date. So this should be always disabled. If you enable it, the page will throw an error. So I think I have added all the required options for this facet. Let me run this page. Great. So let's see if the facet got added. You can see here, my facet got added. Okay, it's not in the order. So what can I do? I can go here. I can go to this. I can go to sort at runtime disable. Click on OK. I will run it again. So now you can see, so I have created the list of values, a range facet of date, and I want to see, okay, how many employees has been hired between 1980 and 1982. I just click on this and I get the result in front of me of the employees who were hired within this date range. So yeah, this is how like we can create a new facet and we can quickly configure the existing facet using the faceted search feature. So this marks the end of the demo. Let me go back to my presentation. Great. Good. So to summarize what we have learned so far, so we have seen how faceted search enables the developers to provide the fully functional faceted search navigation with minimal efforts. Like we saw how quick and easy it is for the developer to implement a faceted search option in Apex with minimal coding. And also we saw Apex does all the low level work of integrating the report and the faceted refresh, generating the required SQL queries to compute the occurrences, and also to map the facets with the corresponding database column. So like this way, the developer can simply focus on creating only faceted search page and make use of the faceted search feature, which is quickly available. In case if you want to do further customization, there is always an option to configure the facet and the classic report. So we also saw like how easy it is and how declaratively we can create a new facet and configure the existing facet to meet the business requirements. So yeah, this is about the faceted search feature. I hope the session was informative. So we can continue with the Q&A session. Over to you, Chaitanya. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Prashanth. I don't see any questions though. All of the questions in the chat window have been answered. So thank you so much for a brilliant presentation on Faceted Search. It was very interesting and very informative. So the next session is on interesting APIs in Oracle Apex that every developer should know. So this will be presented by Srihari. Over to you, Srihari.
Yeah, thank you, Chaitanya. Thank you, Prashanth, for the detailed, wonderful session. So let me start sharing my screen. Prashanth, can you stop sharing? Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Srihari Ravva. I work as a principal developer in Oracle SAS systems and tools. I have over 13 years of experience in developing applications using Oracle Apex. So in today's session, we are going to see some of the Oracle Apex APIs that everyone should know. If you ask me what APIs you should know, probably everything. But the idea behind this session is to give a quick introduction about some of the APIs and how we can do complex things so easily and so declaratively. If you don't see the APIs or if you don't know them, maybe you would think it is not possible to do such things in Oracle Apex. So this is the only slide I have, and other than Q&A and thank you. So let me go straight to the demo. So this is a sample application I have built. This is in the cloud and it's in Hyderabad location. So if you're not aware yet, Oracle has a cloud location in Hyderabad. So for your local applications, you can choose this option. It will be much faster than other cloud locations. So before we go to the demo, so I just have few tables. It's a department table which has ID, name, location, nothing special here. Similarly, we have an employee table. And there is another file which has just list of files. Okay, let us jump into the demo now. So my first demo here is about the new features or new APIs that are introduced in 20.1. The first one is the Apex IG package. It is very similar to the package what we had in the previous versions, Apex IR. So how programmatically you can apply filters, you can reset filters, you can clear filters, right? So this is the interactive grid I created on the employee table. There is nothing fancy thing done here. So if I want to filter based on department, and I click on search, then in the back end, this is applying this filter to this interactive grid. So there is other way to do it. In Apex 20.1, there is another approach using the URLs. Sorry for that. So using the URLs, you can do it, URL syntax. And this is the PL/SQL approach. So if I edit this page, so we can quickly see what is there in it. And the name filter, here the name filter is a free text. So I'm using the contains operator. So let us say I want to use search for Erda in this department, right? So you can see this, it uses the interactive grid filters approach. However, users can still see the filters as a separate fields. So some users, in my experience, they like default or filters standing outside the interactive grid or interactive report. So in those cases, now you can easily develop it. In the code, there is nothing fancy here. So I just go here and I say apply filter. And here you can see the code. So what I'm doing here is I'm just selecting a region. So this is the region static ID, what we see here. And of course, we want from this application, from this page. Now I got the region ID. Now once I have the region ID, I'm resetting any filters if they are already applied. So this is based on the requirement, how you want, we can do that. Or you don't want to reset existing filters, you just comment this. And next, I'm checking the filter values. If there is a filter value entered, I'm adding the filter. And here for department, I'm using equal operator. And for name, I'm using contains operator. As you know, contains is case sensitive, right? If you want, you can also make a case sensitive such, but by default, it's case insensitive. So this Apex IG, it has several useful things. So adding filters, you can also add filters to specific report if you have some saved reports. This is demo, I don't have it. And here you also have clear report. So the clear report basically clears the filters and it resets the, it resets the filters to the initial settings which are done by the developer for the particular report. Whereas the reset report, it will also, along with the resetting the filters, it will also reset the settings. For example, maybe as a default, you have hidden some reports. So user is adding those reports. So when you use reset filter, then it will reset the filters. It will also reset the settings. Okay. So the next demo is about the Apex string util. So this is a new, we had Apex string package before. This Apex string util is a new thing in Apex 20.1. It has so many fancy features. For example, let us say this is the text you have. And from this text, you want to extract these tags. You want to extract the URLs. You want to extract the maybe email addresses, right? So how do you do that? Just think of this as a problem without this package. You need to cover a lot of use cases. You need to do a lot of code. You need to write a lot of code, right? You need to ensure you're covering all the cases. But Apex has provided a package for us, Apex string util, which makes it very easy. So if I just click on process, so it is extracting the tags from this text, and it's also extracting the email addresses. So these are dummy, don't try to reach there. And it's also giving the links. And if you see any Twitter or LinkedIn, when you put some kind of text, you see that it automatically parses the link and it will give you the demo or preview of that link, right? So if you want to implement such a feature in your applications, or you want to build some discussion forum kind of thing inside your organization, then extracting the tags and having indexes separate, storing these tags separately and creating indexes, so that will help to quickly find which thread or which discussion user is trying to look, right? So let us see what is behind it. You will be amazed how simple it is. So here I just have 3 items where I want to store the output. And here I have the computations. In this computation, I have a code which is very simple. So here, Apex string util, I'm saying, hey, find tags from this input, and my tags are starting with hash. That's it. If you have a tag starting with @, maybe you can use. If you have tags starting with maybe double exclamation mark, yeah, whatever. So it will work. Sorry, single exclamation mark. And next, what I'm doing, so this is basically gives you the array. Just for the demo purpose, I don't want to store them. I just want to display them. I just converted them into string using the join. And as we know, previously there were other APIs, string to table, table to string. So they are deprecated. So now we have new join and split in place of that. And similarly for the emails, we have another function, find email addresses. You just give the input. And here we have the links. Same, we have the find links. And you just give the address. And this false. So this basically tells whether do you only want to show or take HTTPS links or both HTTP as well as HTTPS. Right? So very simple. Now let us go to other APIs. This is been there, but I don't see people using it a lot when I see their applications or in the forums. So let me showcase how we can use it. So This is a department table which has unique constraint on the department name. Okay, I'm just adding another department with the name delivery. So if I click save, you see that it is throwing an error. But this is a unique constraint violation error. Now, how do you display this something user friendly? One option is you add a validation. You do a lot of coding, cover the cases of insert, cover the cases of update, delete, combine everything, right? You need to do some coding. But how we can convert this into user friendly messages without much coding by yourself? So let me edit for this. First, you need to go to edit this application. Then here in application attributes, we have error handling. So here you can define a function where you say, hey, whatever Apex application throws the errors, all these errors should be will go via this function. So this function will format the errors, maybe it will log the errors. So we can do whatever you want in this one, right? So all the errors will pass through this function. So it should have any name, but it should accept this parameter, and it will always return this parameter. So this structure should be followed. And for this, we can find this sample function, which is most probably what everyone need in our application. So I just taken the minified version of that. So in this one, let me zoom in. Yeah. So in this one, I'm just doing one thing: Apex error dot init error result. So the error result from the input, I'm just initializing the output. Then from this error, whatever we are getting, I'm extracting the constraint name. So in this case, our constraint name is departments UK, right? And once I extract this constraint, in the real world examples or in your applications, you will have a table where each constraint name will have a user-friendly message. If this constraint violation is occurred, what error message you want to display. Just for the demo purpose, I just hard coded it. So when the constraint name is department UK, then I'm giving user-friendly name. Otherwise, I don't bother it. So now this function is there. I have set that attribute to use this function at the application error handling settings. Now, if I do the same thing again, right? Now we see the user-friendly message. It says department name already exists. Please use different name. How cool is that, right? You don't do any coding. You just do in one place. You store all constraint and the respective messages when they fail in a table. That's it. You're good. The next one is Apex data parser. And if you see here, I use this kind of magic icon because that is magic. You can never imagine how this Apex data parser has simplified the data parsing requirements. It covers you the cases of Excel, CSV, JSON, XML, all the possible data source types out there. The general question people ask, or the general myth people still think, is Apex cannot parse the Excel file. So let me show, or let me open a simple Excel file. So this has department table, 3 columns, employee, right? Few columns. Now, if I upload this file and say process, as you can see, we're able to read the department data from one sheet, and the next sheet I'm able to read the employees data. And the code behind this is very simple. Okay, so first what I'm doing, I just have created 2 regions, one for department, one for employee. Then I have hidden items, these hidden items to hold the value of the sheet name internally for the sheet, right? We have 2 sheets, department and employee. Next, I go to processing. When I click process, all I'm doing is I'm trying to extract the sheet name. You see that this is the sheet name we have here, department and employee, right? The same sheet names. For using this display name, I'm trying to get what is the internal sheet file name. Once I have that, then it is easy. So that's what I'm doing when we submit the page. And once I go here, and if I see the query behind this report, I'm just saying, hey, Apex data parser, please parse this file. Okay, because most of us will be already aware when we upload the file. So the file, you can choose where it should go and sit, but by default, it will go and sit into Apex application temp files. So from the temp files, how do you get the current file? Use the item name. I think most of developers will know this. So now from these files, I'm choosing the current file, and then that file content, I'm parsing it to the Apex data parser. Then I'm just giving the sheet name. That's it. And the yeah, sheet name and the file name. This is the file name from this one again. Then I have this data, and let me see the query. So here, by default, you will have 300 varchar columns. By default, everything will be, data type will be varchar. So first line will be the first line here. So I don't want that. I just filtered it out. And I know that as per the template, this is first name is name, this is location, this is country. So what I did, I just went here and I hard coded it. But if you want this to be dynamic, that is also possible. So you have something called discover. So you can first discover it to find what are the positions of the different columns, what are the data types, or while parsing, you can also give another parameter. Excuse me. So you can also give another parameter where you say, you can also give the collection name, basically, so that collection will give you all the column names and the data types, position, everything you need. Okay, we are running out of time. So another example, quickly. So this is the file I want to upload, right? So when you see this kind of file, most probably you think, hey, this is not possible because it is not tabular, right? So, but it is possible, okay? And even though it has some formatting. So let me show you quickly that. So this is another example. I just upload it. Go here, process. So we are able to get the first name, last name, and everything. How is it done? It's very simple. So Apex, in Apex, we can count all the columns, right? C01, 02, 03 till 300 we can parse, and these are basically row number. So when I need passport status, all I need is row number 10, column number 2, right? That is what I need, right? So let me quickly show you. So what I did here, I just went to the source, and here you can see that I'm just taking column number 2, line number 10. That's it. Okay. And when the columns are merged, for example, this is a column merged. So this value, if you want to read, it will be the column 1. Column 2 will be null, 3 will be null, 4 will be null. Whatever value you give here, that will come into column 5. If you right. So with this, even the most complex templates, we can parse and we can load the data. So let me quickly jump to the Apex zip. So here I have some demo files, these Excel files which I showcased. I just uploaded here. If you want to download them into zip file, previously people used to use call some Java programs. Now it is not needed. So I will get that easily with one click. The code is very simple here. Again, using the package. So I have created a download zip, which is in the pre-rendering. So here what I'm doing, I'm creating a bill of file, looping through the table, adding the files, and then I'm marking, hey, I'm done with the zipping. Then I'm just downloading using WPG docload download file approach. This is very old. I think most of the developers will know it. And once I download, I don't want Apex to do anything. So I'm just saying, hey, stop the Apex engine. Okay. And finally, most important one, when we go to Apex page, so the Apex page has several useful APIs. The point I want to discuss here is get URL. So when you want, so in this case, some of the departments I want to disable the link, some I want to enable it. So some people do that using the concatenation, right? So don't do that. You use Apex page get URL. What is the advantage? So here, if I click this, so it's going to another page, right? There is, it's just going to another page. Now, if I go to this page and I change this page to page mode, so I change it to model, save it, right? And I go back. Now, if I right click and inspect it. So the code is automatically converted to open a model dialog. So you click that. Now it opens a model dialog. You don't do any changes. If you use the concatenation approach, then you have to take care of all the cases. Okay. Yeah, so that's it from my side. And there are a lot of other APIs, right? It is not possible to cover all the APIs, even if you take 1 hour full session. So the idea is, so you have so many powerful, well-tested, generic, well-documented PL/SQL APIs Apex team is providing us. So please go and explore them and see how and where you can use in your application. Thank you.
Thanks, Srihari. I don't see any open questions again. And so I think I don't see any questions in the Q&A, and it looks like all of the questions have been answered. So let me just share my screen.
Yeah, let me stop sharing. And just one update. So this application, I will download it and I will keep it in the GitHub. I will share the link in the Twitter or via INVOUG Twitter handle. I can check with the team. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Srihari. That was a brilliant session. And most of us generally don't have much of an idea about the APIs. So it was very informative and interesting to understand different APIs and how to put to use to them. So thank you so much, Prashanth and Srihari again. And thank you all of you for joining today's session. It was great to see you all of you. So if you have not subscribed to Apex India Community Office Hours, please do subscribe bit.ly.com/OracleApex-India. If you are a customer or partners, if you have anything interesting to share with the India community, with the Apex India community, if you do have any kind of success stories to share with us, please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is over there, Chaitanya_IN, or you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can also contact Prashanth and Srihari, and also all of the Innog leaders, Richard, Bala, Varghese, and Ankit, Jaideep, and Mehul, and so on. So stay tuned for the updates on the next session. Next session will be most likely in October. In September, we do have a session coming up by Innog, India Oracle Apex user group. So more updates will be provided shortly. Until then, happy Apexing. Thank you so much for joining in again, and looking forward to seeing you. Have a good evening. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you all.